What I'm recommending here is a fantastic book called NLP for Teachers, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It's the best book I've ever read on anything to do with behaviour management. The book's structured with various parts. There'll be an introduction part to what they're going to talk about, how they're going to enlarge on an NLP concept. For example, how to build rapport. And then it will give you a checklist of ways to find your own specific ways of communicating, and then how to think of it from another person's point of view. It's more about changing the teacher from inside, which is quite a hard-hitting message to give to any teacher, to tell them actually it's what you do that's going to make the difference. Particular feature I liked was the section on some research on a dolphin aquarium, where they looked at how a dolphin trainer manages to train dolphins to do specific tricks, and it's all about rewards. There are no sanctions because you can't punish a dolphin. The price at just under £20 is a bargain. Any teacher who wants to become better, no matter how old they are, how young they are, if they've got any interest in teaching and becoming a better teacher as well as a better communicator with anyone, this is definitely the book to have and to hold on to forever.
I thought the NLP for Teachers was a really good resource. I found it quite exciting actually. I think it presents lots of really interesting ways of working, well presented, lots of interesting diagrams. The fact that it uses a kind of toolbox method, and sometimes it's got like research sections. I've been teaching 20 years and I picked this book up and thought, yeah, I'd like to look at some of that. It did intrigue me.
There was an exercise in it and it explained to you how you could emotionally calibrate yourself before you go into a classroom. So basically you could close your eyes, go and find somewhere quiet, think about your emotions, think about how you feel, and that sort of sets you up before you go into the classroom.
This is probably one of the best books, if not the best book on behaviour that I've read. It is absolutely perfect for somebody who wants to really get to grips with how to move their behaviour skills forward. It understands that the brain is what impacts behaviour, that emotions are involved, and it hits every single button really that teachers need. It's a brilliant book.
I would appreciate if each chapter had perhaps at the end an exercise which a teacher could carry out in order to master this technique. £19.99 is a fairly reasonable price for what you get in this book, and yes, I would definitely be spending that on this.
If you don't know anything at all about NLP, it can be a bit daunting. Maybe as part of a course that could be good, but just reading through it at home I think is a lot of work.
It's not patronising. It would relate to skilled teachers and teachers who feel they manage behaviour well. It would extend skills. So at £20, it would definitely be something that would be in my staff room.
If you're trying to get a class to be silent, the difference between using the word please and thank you is where you start. So saying please is pleading. Please will you do this? Please will you do that? So I really encourage teachers to just not use the word please and to replace it with thank you. So by saying stop talking, silence, thank you, now, it's really clear that you've got an expectation that you want them to be silent.
I would recommend Behaviour Online because it's quite a versatile resource. There are interactive worksheets, there are worksheets that you can print off, as well as videos and play scripts.
It's a software that allows students to log on, and you can log into what type of behaviour they've shown, and then they can follow different scenarios. And using the idea of a drag and drop, it allows them to see maybe what they should have done and address where their behaviour's gone wrong and how they could put it right next time.
There are quite a range of interactive worksheets, from teasing and bullying to bringing inappropriate things into school.
It also gives the student time for them to reflect on their own behaviour rather than just the teacher telling them what they've done wrong. It allows them to think and judge what they've done wrong themselves.
It's very, very easy to use. If you try to move on and you haven't typed in something, the little lady comes up.
Please answer the question before you move on.
I don't think it's a bad thing if the students enjoy it, because it's not a punishing tool. It's used as a preventative measure. So it's good that it's fun for them, because if it was boring, it wouldn't ever make an impact on them. And for £117 for use across the whole school for as many students as you like, I think is wonderful.
The big thing I liked about it was the idea of getting kids to think through their own behaviour for themselves. One of the features I liked was that they have the timings on it, so it tells you how long you'd expect that activity to last. So you really can be quite precise in your planning.
It was quick, it was easy. You could work with the young people in small groups, in paired work, and they can sort of finish one exercise, relate it to past experience, and then move on to the next exercise.
The reason I like this online website is because you're able to interact with students without actually being there. You can also have control over what they're doing, give them rewards, they can have group discussions.
What was nice on there are a load of different video clips you could go into and watch. One particular clip I watched was a mother talking about bullying. It was a really good clip, very honest, and I think that'd be a really good starting point to use if you're doing a topic on bullying.
So he was becoming very anxious and not enjoying going to school. You have to get them out the car and get them into the playground.
Students have said it is real to life, and they've generally liked it. One comment they've said is they realise what the problems are and what the issues are, but they didn't really know how to overcome those issues through using behaviour online. They didn't really understand the solutions to the problems.
You do actually find that it's a deterrent, and also we use it as a baseline. So if something did occur again, we could always reflect back on it and say, well, this happened then, this is what you thought about it then, are your views still the same?
One improvement might be in terms of if it is aimed at sort of 11 to 16, how appropriate some of it was for the 15 to 16-year-old age group. That was my initial concern. I think there's other things out there that I'd probably use before I'd actually go to this website.
If ever Behaviour Online does a new worksheet or a new video, they update it straight away. So it's never a resource that will be outdated.
Thinking about the price of it, about £117 or whatever, if you were going to use that in a whole school and put together a very, very straightforward scheme of work with resources, materials all ready for staff to pick up and use right away, I think that's excellent value for money.
Always walk into every situation involving behaviour with an open mind to what's caused it. Don't assume a child is wrong and an adult is right. Always find out the facts from both sides for any situation and be prepared to listen and respond to what's happening in front of you.
Always appeal to the student's sense of fairness. Always strive for positive relationships, and in terms of whether it's sanctions or praise or celebrating success, always follow things through.
The book I'm recommending is How to Manage and Teach Children with Challenging Behaviour by Veronica Burkitt. The progression through the book is really quite interesting, and it deals with students with specific behaviour problems. They might have personal issues, or they may have just issues with their learning. With Veronica Burkitt, she actually gives suggestions and scenarios along those lines and how to deal with it. This book could be beneficial to NQTs, experienced teachers, possibly even to parents and carers, because it specifically sets out an easy to read, easy document to understand, gives you good scenarios, situations that might happen even at home and in the classroom. One particular example which I found very useful is on chapter 5, dealing with confrontation. It shows a pyramid and how you could troubleshoot situations and perhaps be forewarned before a situation occurs. The book is $10.99 and I think it's really good value for that. It has photocopyable sheets near the end of the chapters and it's a very good resource.
I thought it was an excellent resource. I really liked that it was quite hands-on and it provided a lot of assurances.
It kind of tries to do two things, but I think, if I'm honest, it doesn't do either. It's very theoretical, which would be good for kind of someone in senior management. But actually, the strategies and the ideas are very, very basic, which really is something that a beginner teacher might find more useful.
It's not actually instinctive, so like if you've got a problem then you can actually sort of go to page 36. It's more of a book where you kind of trawl through and parts of the book kind of relates perhaps to some of your problems.
One of the worksheets I really liked was how you can use a TA in your classroom, and what it then gave you was actually a checklist you could work through and different strategies you could use.
It is quite wordy and there's a lot of text, but when you have a closer look at it, there is a lot of bullet points, there's a lot of really good tips, like a lot of practical things you can do.
The thing I liked quite a lot was that it deals with positive behaviour right the way through. By the time you get to chapter 5, it's the first time when it deals with confrontation, which I think a lot of young teachers walk into school thinking they're going to experience straight away. But the book kind of gives you lots of strategies to avoid that first, and then if it's then still going to happen, then the final chapter, chapter 5, gives you a different perspective on when things haven't worked.
For me, there's not enough resources in it that I could use. I would be looking for something that I could easily, quite quickly photocopy. So $10.99 is not for me, I'm afraid.
It's a little overpriced. This would be the sort of resource that the bulk of it I think you could find probably on web pages.
At $10.99, I'd say that was a good valued resource for my BTs to have to look at while they're coming in to train, and my young teachers to have as a tabletop resource in the staff room during their first couple of years of teaching.